Well, namaste. Thank you for joining on the mat. Thank you for Tanya to realize that this can be an ease for a lot of people that are home. And I'm sure you have loads of things to do. What I have noticed lately is that I almost keep the same rhythm that I did when I was out and about and working, but I was keeping that same rhythm in my house, but just replacing one type of business with another type of business. So it's not really, as my Fitbit is telling me, it's not really lowering my resting heart rate. On the contrary, it's actually speeding it up. Yeah, because my body is not used to being in this kind of internal business in my house. So what I'm hoping that this class together will just allow us and give us the permission to slow down, because there are things we only see when we slow down. There are things we hear only when we become quiet, and it will require some very deep instinct of ourselves. And when I talk about surviving here, it's not like surviving the virus or surviving the the less money in the bank account or not paying our debts. It's more survival of our mind, because our mind, yes, it wants to go crazy. It's the job of the mind. So by doing the type of practice we'll do today, a yin practice, where we hold the poses between 3 to 4 minutes, that will allow us to be still. And the mind will go a little bit crazy for a certain amount of that time, and we just need to bring it back to the moment, to the breath, and to our curiosity. Just for this half hour, can I be more curious about my body, myself, my internal communication than everything that is external? Yeah, because we speak to ourselves. We will let feelings out, thoughts out, tension out. And what's really, really important is, can I listen to that and somehow get through it? Yeah, because if we don't listen to it, it kind of collects and it collects and it collects, and we create an obstacle and a hurdle for the energy to flow. Anyway, so if you have, like I have placed my bolster and my block here because I love them and they're very useful. If you don't have it, a couple of blankets will work. I've done many yin classes with no tools, yeah, so it's not a must, it's not a necessary. But what I have learned through the years, if I have it ready and close by, I will use it. And when I do use it, there's another level of just letting go. Yeah, because the earth is here. This is this motherly element that we need to rely on in these kind of crazy times when we feel unrooted, not grounded, and this uncertainty that this is life. Life is uncertain, and we just have to, like my teacher always says, accept, adjust, and accommodate. Yeah, so we'll do our best. Anyway, get comfortable. Kind of sit either in a chair, on your yoga mat, on the floor. Take a couple of breaths. I usually take some cleansing breaths in through the nose and exhale everything through the mouth. So if you want to join me, I will do 2 of those right now. Take a deep, complete inhale through the nose and exhale everything through the mouth. Allow 1 more of those, deeply in through the nose and exhale everything through the mouth. And just release the hands either facing up or down on your knees. The hands are less important. What's more important is that you find a sense of comfort. Kind of realign yourself, so shoulders over hips, And maybe tuck the chin slightly in towards the collarbones or the chest, just so there's more room for a natural length in your neck. Now, what you're going to notice now when you're breathing is that it's not really up to you. It is something that you receive, and it is something you return. So just the act of breathing here is a practice and a rehearsal for constantly receiving and also constantly giving back, with no fear that we're not going to get another breath in. So just take 2 or 3 rounds where you breathe in and where you breathe out. Noticing you allow, invite, and embrace every time the breath comes. And you liberate, surrender, and empty on every breath out. And you probably also recognize that any hidden tension in the jaw or the tongue or the eyes probably and hopefully by now starts to let go. Very, very good. Now we're going to begin and moving us into the first gentle pose of the day. So when we're doing yin yoga, if you've never done yin yoga before, like I said, we're holding the poses for about 3 to 4 minutes, which can be very, very long, especially because we're going towards a place of discomfort. So within the place of discomfort, we try to actually make ourselves as comfortable as we can be. And this is why it can be really helpful with either the block or the bolster, or just use your clothes that are on the floor from yesterday or something. Now I'm going to use the bolster because that's like my partner. And we're going to go to a forward bend. So maybe arrange a bit the fleshy part of your seat, so to say. And you can have the legs completely straight if you want. Now, we're going to fold into a forward fold, Paschimottanasana. But what's very different from Paschimottanasana in a yang practice, which is more dynamic, in yin, we try to relax. So I usually remind my legs that they are not working, my knees, my thighs. Now, depending on your upper body, if you can't really grab a hold of your feet, don't worry. Just kind of go towards the ankles, maybe towards the shin bones. And then when you get as far forward as you can, with the upper body, you can round or just simply be leaning forward. For some bodies today, we're quite tight in the back of the body. So rounding simply doesn't really happen. Now, since we also want to relax the head, there's a couple of different ways you can do. If you're more flexible, you can maybe even hold your head or even hang with your head. Yeah? So just find a place where the edge is welcoming you. The edge is the first ingredient of yin yoga. And hopefully by now, because we're already towards the end of the first minute, hopefully by now you have found your edge. Now we come to the second ingredient in our yin practice, and that is stillness. So if you're used to fidgeting or trying to find a place of more comfort, please stop. This is the time to choose a moment of stillness, to choose a place where you hang out and you accept this is as good as it gets for the next 2 minutes. Yeah. Now, our job here is to do less. which is very different from what we usually do during our day, or usually what we do in no coronavirus ambience. But we are now placed in a position where we can call it forced to do less. And there will be and could be some resistance for that. Yeah? Now we are already in the 3rd minute here. So I invite you to either stay where you are or maybe go slightly deeper or maybe a little bit more forward. Because the 3rd ingredient in Yin Yoga is time. So we're looking for the edge, we're looking for stillness, and we add time. And therefore, just breathe in and breathe out for the last 20 seconds here. Recognize if it's more legs or if it's more lower back, or if the head, the busyness of the mind is still the challenge, even though we're working physically. And that's okay. Yeah. We're going on a bit overload of information right now, so accept even that. Give it 2 more breaths here, please, in this easy and gentle forward bend. And then slowly, slowly, take your time to come back up. It's almost impossible to come out of a yin pose quickly, yeah? And when you do come back up, you might want to bend your legs, remove anything that you had, and do any kind of movement that the body says please to. Yeah, I usually need to do a little twist here, just so the spine can go in a few different directions. Yeah. And coming all the way back to the center. Good. Now, the next one, again, you can do it without any blocks. It's a deep squat. So for some of you, the heels don't really go down. So that's why, again, a blanket or a bolster can be really helpful. You might even have a little seat with your buttocks on it, yeah? Some people, lately, I have used the block. So I actually have a seat on the block, which allows me to be more comfortable, yeah? When we relax, and we really need to be comfortable. And if you're not comfortable the first minute, trust me, it's not going to get easier 2nd and 3rd minute. So wherever you are now, we're going to start in an upright position. So the back of the triceps or the elbows, they're going to land on the inside of the knees or the thighs, yeah? And there's a gentle pushing or meeting, more correctly, on the inner knees. See if the spine can elongate, but the shoulders are relaxing, yeah? So we're not really having the shoulders high to the ears. And the hands can just be in the namaste as a reminder that this is my center. This is the essence. It's kind of heart area where that doesn't really change. Our essence doesn't really change. It's just what is externally surrounding us that does. Now, if you're new to yoga and you don't really know much about the yogic breath and the different types, I really recommend you to just breathe in and out, yeah? And use the nose. And see if you can have an even breath. So breath in and breath out happens. And that is really a successful practice. Now we're going to stay for Another 2 breaths here before you make the decision to either continue. If this is like intense enough, you can stay here. Otherwise, for the last part of this pose, we will move forward. And depending on your body type, the body you're born with, and what you've been doing to it the last decades, you might just stay here or stay up on the tippy fingers, or you might be able to go a little bit deeper, further forward. Just like we did in the Paschimottanasana, the prior pose, you can also round the back and hang with the head. I usually prefer to stay a little bit further up here because I want it to be more about the groin, the hip flexor, and the hips. So fidgeting can just be a little symptom of us wanting to escape, which is a great insight if you notice that, oh, I want to move again, or I want to do this, or it itches here. Because anytime we do that kind of escaping, I mean, for example, I noticed how many times I went to the kitchen yesterday and I wasn't even hungry. It's just that's kind of escaping of the moment, how it is presenting itself. And there's a part of me that does not agree with it. What do I do then? Well, then I try to change what's going on so on my inside I can deal with it better. If I keep escaping and escaping, I'm never going to learn to be still. So this is why lessening a bit the fidgeting in our yin is recommended unless there's strong pain. Yeah? So we want to be really, really aware of that level of pain as well. Now we're staying another couple of breaths here. I'm just speaking to trick your mind. Good, and then slowly as you help yourself with your arms and hands coming back up. Now, we're going to go to a standing pose here, yeah? And for some of you, you might need to keep the legs very, very bent. And some of you might be able to keep them straighter. So just straighten the legs here, let your upper body, even the hands can be on top of the knees or shin bones. If you're a bit more flexible, let the hands come to the ankles and the feet. And take the first half a minute here to move. Yes. Because we're not really yinning it yet. So you might want to straighten the legs, bend the legs, pedal the feet. Anything really that you need to feel the effect of the deep squat you just did. Very good. Now, if you have the block or a bolster or something behind your feet, this is probably the time when you remove it, just so you have plenty of space to extend the right leg behind you. Yeah, so the right leg goes back and just come flat onto your hands in order to hold yourself with straight arms. As you bend the left leg, see if the left knee can come quite close to the left edge of the mat. Now we're going into a hip opener. And the back leg, which should be your right one, take a look and just make sure that it's somewhat parallel to the yoga mat. Yeah. Now the back toes can either be curled in and under, or you can have the foot flat. Yeah. Now, if you feel, oh my gosh, I'm falling over, this is where, again, a block, a little bit too hard for me, or a bit of a bolster can come in and under the buttocks. Now, the first half a minute in the yin, just see if you can be adjusting yourself into as much comfort as you can. Either stay on the forearms and the elbows here, or take the elbows out to the side and rest your forehead onto your hands. In Yin Yoga, there's really nothing right or wrong, because the general sensation is, if you feel it, you're doing it. Yeah? So if you're feeling it in your glute, inside of the thigh, the only place, I don't want you to feel this, is in your knee. Yeah, your front knee. If your front knee is starting to feel it, you simply come back up, adjust your knee so it's way more in the center of the mat, and then you come back down again. Yeah. So we're almost halfway there, about a minute and a half into the pigeon. And a really nice mantra, a really nice repetition to give the mind here is, on the breath in, you repeat I am, and on the breath out, repeat letting go. So every time you breathe in, I am, and on every breath out, letting go. And you have probably something just you need to let go of. Maybe we need to let go of our control issue or a fear of uncertainty. So make it very personal for the last 45 seconds here. And with the mind, we're preparing ourselves to come out of the pose, but just physically, we're staying just for the last 2 breaths. We want to really let the body, the mind, we can trust the mind. And when we give attention to the mind, when we actually give it a place to be safely, then it likes performing. It likes to make that little bit of effort to be here and now. It is only when we don't show it attention and we lose that sense of taming it, that's when it does its own thing. Yeah? Last breath here. And then when you come all the way back up, now just stay with the arms straight, either high on the tippy fingers, really getting into a baby back bend here just for a couple of breaths. Since we've been doing some forward bends, we also need to counter this. And then with the help of the upper body, lift the left leg and extending it straight. So maybe the ankle needs a circle, maybe the leg needs to do something funky. Just gonna do what you need. And then placing the knee back down. And before we go to the other side, cat and cow. Yeah, so cat and cow is very simple, but it can work miracles in the spine. You've been laying too much on the couch, sitting too much in the chair. So just do 2 more in each direction, kind of arching, looking up at the same time as you breathe in. And as you exhale, chin to the chest. Excellent. And then when you come back to the center again, after that last one, extend your left leg. Now we're going to knee that leg. Adjust your hands slightly forward. Lift your right knee and swing it towards the front of the mat. Now, as you can see, my hips are quite open, so I can get my foot higher. If your hips are a little bit more tight, you simply keep it, I would say, in the line of that left hip bone, yeah? Again, if this is your bad knee, you move it more towards the center of the mat. Otherwise, you keep it to the edge of the right side of the mat. Working your way either halfway down, here holding yourself. Here's where I usually again use my block, where I can just pause with a forehead. We're on the second height. So you always give room for support. Sometimes we're not really used to receiving. Yeah, it's almost like if I receive, if I ask for help, I'm weak. And it's not. It's like we need to be able to receive in order also to give. So it's a very important part of our transformation. So we can give to the body receives it, and we can then continue to be externally productive, peaceful, and useful. Now, since we're going towards that second minute, there might be a little crack, like an opening, and I want you to really recognize that. So maybe this second minute is where you settle, where you go a little bit deeper, and maybe a little bit more quiet. And it's this quality of solitude that I'm choosing to be more curious about this moment, about my own body, about my own thoughts. I'm prioritizing that, then being more curious about what other people think or other people's bodies or other people's reactions. Now, for the last 40 seconds or so, notice here, has the pose transformed or emerged from something it was to something it's no longer is? Is maybe the more dominant place you feel it in the body somewhere else than when you began? And for the last 20 seconds, maybe returning to that mantra on the breath in, I am, and on the breath out, letting go. Start preparing your mind that, okay, I'm going to get out soon. I'm going to come out of this, but making the transition very calm, not reactive, but just responding to what the moment is offering. Use your arms, use your hands, and walk them as far back towards the bent leg as you can. And then just pause there again. Second baby back bend. Not really yinning it in the back bends today. Maybe for the next one. And just get the neck long, soften the jaw, tender in the eyes. When we receive, we're required to tap into that tenderness and compassionate part of ourselves that can be very vulnerable to show. One more breath. Good. And then slowly coming back out of it. Now you help yourself maybe by moving the back knee slightly forward, lift the front leg, and do that neutralization again where the right leg extends behind you. The foot might be circling and the hip might be rolling up and back, forward and backwards. Yeah. And then to further neutralize a bit the pelvis here, take the hands in front of the shoulders and simply fall with the hips from one side to the other side. Yeah, it usually feels quite nice. You can go as deeply as you want or just stay quite high. Especially if someone has lower back problems, you might want to stay a little bit higher. Do just one more, each direction. Good. And then turning it all around. So you're coming onto the floor now. Place yourself so you're in the center of the mat. You have plenty of room behind you. Bend the legs, and when you lay down, hug the knees in towards the belly. And just as you arrive laying, rock yourself slightly left and right, giving a massage to any part of the back that feels that it needs attention of the last poses we've done. Now we're going to finish off with going into a reclining twist. So with your legs, doesn't matter what side you fall onto, just make sure that both knees are quite high. They're together, and the opposite hand can get a grip on the external part of the leg, and the arm is extending out, root through the shoulder. Sometimes the knees and the shoulder cannot be done simultaneously, and that's okay. So if your shoulder is up, keep it hovering, or if your knees are hovering, keep them hovering. Here's also where we can place the bolster, kind of as a bit of a support under the back. Give yourself the permission to close your eyes for a couple of moments and just go inwards again. With our yoga practice, and especially the yin practice, we reset the part of the nervous system that helps us to rest and digest, to kind of go away from the fight and flight mode. It's called the parasympathetic system, that we really need to have balanced in order to sleep well, to digest food, and to heal our body. We're only staying about a minute and a half in the twist on each side, so another 20 seconds. And when you come out of it, you can either come with both legs together or just take one leg at a time, using more the abdominal strength of your body, and then moving the knees over to the opposite twist. So you might have to move your shoulders, your upper body, turn your head in the opposite direction of where the knees fall. The extended arm out on the floor. Anytime there's any shoulder pain, or when I had my shoulder surgery, I would just keep the arm very close, and sometimes even just letting the arm be on top of the upper body. So always adjust. In the yin yoga, if we tense, we don't get into the tissue that we want to stretch, which is connecting tissue, ligaments, and tendons. By now, the breath can be a lot more soft and gentle and natural. Each breath, you're training the mind to be here, to be now. Last 20 seconds. Maybe that is one deep, long breath or a couple. Good. Now slowly when you come back again, we're preparing for the last pose of today's class, which is where we go to Shavasana. Shavasana is the relaxation pose. If you've never done Shavasana, I'll show you real quick. The legs extend, and the feet are usually a little bit wider than the hips, and the arms a bit wider than the shoulders. Maybe lift your head and tuck the chin slightly in, and then wobble with the upper body, the pelvis, get heavy on the legs. And from here, you just give yourself heaviness, that the exact weight that your legs offer, you just simply fall to the earth without weight. The weight of your buttocks, the weight of the back. And by this time, the breathing might take a different course. It might become maybe a little bit more quiet and shorter. Allow that. Maybe you start to have a pause between the breath in and breath out. Allow that. Allow the lower jaw to kind of fall away from the upper jaw. And notice the soft belly when you breathe in. How it gently expands away from the body. And when you breathe out, how it comes back again to the body. Notice that you're in this place where nothing external comes through and affect you. You're in the place of presence, not in the place of person. Now, very slowly, when we're going to start moving again, I want you to still start moving from a place of presence. So even when the fingers and the toes and the hands and the feet start to move, there is a sense of non-urgency to that. Maybe the arms start to get involved, the legs will bend, and you hug them all the way in towards the belly. And just like we did when we landed on the mat the first time, we swayed a bit left and right, or move the knees forward and back. Do that. And then you can either rock yourself up to seated or roll over towards your right side. Have another moment or two here. And then using your arms, using your hands, coming all the way back up. Just to finish into a cross-legged position. I have no idea if this is going to be part of the video, if it stopped earlier. It is what it is, yeah? If we're lucky, it kind of still recorded, even though it went on sleep mode. Who knows? All right, so reminding yourself, this too shall pass. I'm here, I am now. As soon as you connect with your breath over and over again, anxiety and worry will diminish and lose its edge. So let's seal this intention of staying peaceful and useful in every capacity that we have and we can. Sealing the hands before the heart. Forever grateful. Namaste. Thank you.